I gave my ex-wife a large amount of money I won despite the anger of my girlfriend. I recently won a few amount of money. I won't say exactly how much, but it's well into the millions. It's more than enough to change the life of myself and my family. My ex-wife is the mother of my 2 kids. She is an amazing woman and good to the bone. We divorced 5 years ago because I had an affair with my current partner who is now my wife. It was the biggest mistake I've ever made and it costed me to lose the love of my life. I was in a low place in my life and I really messed up. She was in incredible pain, but like a effing saint, she allowed me to still see our kids who mean the absolute world to me, and it allowed our divorce to be as pain-free as possible. She was actually the first person I called after my mom and dad, when I found out I won the lottery. She was happy for me, joked that I could take the kids on a world-round trip, and that was that, nothing else. I actually plan on doing this, maybe she could tag along as well. As soon as I won, I knew I wanted to give her a significant amount of the money, and I feel like this is some small, tiny way I can show her that I'm not a complete F-up. She deserves to know that I care about her despite all of my mistakes in the past. She also works a terrible job in the public library, which pays her peanuts. The money would allow her to not have to work her butt off to pay her bills, and she would actually be able to pursue her hobbies this way, and give our kids a better life between us. My wife works a decent job and doesn't even need the money. I haven't discussed this with my ex yet, but long story short, when I told my girlfriend, she was absolutely livid and threatened to end our relationship. She started screaming at me saying how disrespectful that is to her, and accusing me of still being in love with my ex. My girlfriend is now threatening to break up with me, and to be honest, I'm feeling incredibly relieved over the threats. I don't plan on changing my plans and I am going through with it. Am I the jerk? I revealed to my dad's wife the real reason why me and him were never close. My dad practically gave me up to his sister from the moment I, 25 male, was born. My mom passed when she was giving birth to me. My aunt told me that my dad never recovered from that because he blamed me for her dying. It hurt me a lot as a kid that at family events he would ignore my existence. When I was a little older he got more vocal about saying that I was the reason she passed away and he can't stand to look at my face. You can imagine the amount of therapy that put me in. I used to go to church crying because I was scared about going to hell for doing that to my mom. That's how much his words messed me up. But the worst part was that I never stopped trying to be accepted by him. After my high school graduation he told me to never bother him again since he legally has no obligation to me anymore, since he has been sending my aunt money to take care of me. Around that time is when I finally started accepting that reality, so from there we both moved on with our lives. My aunt doesn't talk to me about him. Sometimes my grandparents will though, and that's how I found out that he got married. They were mad he didn't invite me to their wedding, but to me, it didn't matter at all because we're not close, but it was his wife who wanted to meet me. It's the first time ever that he wants to make contact with me, and it was to pretty much say she wants me in their life. She doesn't know the real reason about why we're estranged. He asked me to please not say anything and maybe this could be a way to reconcile after all, but he was only doing it for her. That much was clear when we talked. I still wasn't too keen on going, but my dad's wife still insisted on us meeting at their place because she really wanted to meet me for the first time. All she thinks is we were estranged for not getting along in my teenager years, going to college and losing touch because of life stuff. That really pissed me off. He played it off as us just not talking for petty reasons, meanwhile the actual reason damaged me for years. I told her the truth. Everything he said to me. That he was never a parent to me, that was all my aunt. It was definitely a major shock for her. The outcome was a complete disaster. Everyone has heard about this now. My grandmas in particular told me she understands my anger. But this was his chance finding someone since losing my mom and now it's been put in jeopardy. My dad is now devastated. Everyone thinks I was going too far to ruin his marriage, when he was willing to include me in their lives, which could have been the start of our new relationship. She just doesn't agree at all with what he did and it could have been avoided if I didn't say anything. For me it was hard not to tell the truth after the lies made it seem like it was nothing serious. I couldn't ignore what happened after what my dad did to me. I don't know if it was the right call since it put their whole marriage at risk after.
I called out my kid's future stepmom for treating me like a surrogate. I, 29 female, dated a guy Joe, 30 male, for 3 months before he left me to go back to his ex, Emma. Right after we broke up, I found out I was pregnant. I let him know and he was ecstatic. It turns out his girlfriend had fertility issues and would likely never be able to get pregnant naturally, and he has always wanted to be a father. Joe was only allowed at the initial appointment and we found out I was having twins. According to Joe, when he told Emma, she had a complete mental breakdown about infertility, and wanted to have a conversation with me. I met them at their house and Emma said that she wanted to be involved in my pregnancy because she would eventually be the children's stepmom. She started giving me a list of what I need to do. Telling me that I needed to do a home birth, that I needed to do formula feeds so that they could have the babies half of the week, that she wanted one boy and one girl. And she said that she wanted the kid to call her mama. So, I shut her down and said I would only make the best choices for my children and my body, and stormed out the front door. When it came time for my 20-week level 2 scan, they allowed me one guest and Joe suggested I take Emma instead of him, which I outright refused to do. Joe must come because he is the biological father. Joe did end up coming and he found out the gender because I wanted to keep it a surprise for me so we could throw a nice gender reveal party. I posted a pregnancy announcement on all of my social medias. I was ecstatic until I saw a post made by Emma, in which she posted an announcement saying they were expecting twins. Quote, the non-traditional way. And how blessed she was. I was so irritated, but I kept my mouth shut. Then she threw a gender reveal party and posted it all over social media, as well as announcing that she is having a baby shower. I wasn't even invited. I commented on her post and told her to stop treating me like a surrogate. Joe and Emma and some of her friends and family are saying I'm a complete jerk. And her mother even called and insisted I give her one of my babies. I feel like I'm living in a nightmare. Am I the jerk? I ruined her pregnancy announcement by telling her she took the wrong test. My husband and I recently invited 8 of our friends for lunch and we were asked if we could also include a new couple, Doug and Sasha. We had never met them before, but everyone who was invited had, so we said sure. At one point during dinner, Sasha needed to go to the restroom, so I told her to use the master suite since the other bathroom was occupied. I was helping my husband in the kitchen when Sasha came out of the bathroom running around and bawling her eyes out. She was holding something in her hand. At first, I thought she hurt herself, so I quickly ran over to her, but she said something to Doug that caused him to drop to his knees, cry, and begin kissing her stomach. All of our friends began screaming, jumping, and crying. It was an abundance of emotions, but so beautiful. Finally, Sasha tells my husband and I that she is pregnant. Of course, we congratulate both of them, and then I give them a bag to safely put the pregnancy test in. I will admit, I did find it odd that she brought a pregnancy test and took it at a complete stranger's house, but I didn't want to say that out loud. Once everyone sat down to eat, Sasha looked over to me and said, "I really hope you don't mind that I used one of your pregnancy tests. I just saw them and I had to. I couldn't resist." Looking at her confused, I responded, "I don't have any pregnancy tests in the bathroom, or at all." Sasha says, "Yes you do, in your drawer." I thought to myself maybe my husband bought them, but I highly doubt it. So I asked Sasha if she meant the blue box in the back of my lower left drawer that was closed. She seemed to realize I was pointing out that she basically snooped around and she sheepishly said the box said pregnancy for pregnancy tests. I said, "Sasha, the brand is Pregmate and those are ovulation tests. I do not own pregnancy tests. Did you take an ovulation test?" Her husband freaked the absolute F out at me and said his wife was not an idiot and can obviously read a box, and stop all the nonsense. He insisted for Sasha to get the test out from the bag I gave her and prove that I'm wrong. Sasha refused, saying she didn't need to prove anything to a complete stranger and insisted they leave immediately. One of the couples thought that Doug and Sasha acted completely ridiculous while the other 3 couples thought I should have pulled Sasha aside to discuss my concerns. They said I was a complete jerk for doing it in front of everyone. Honestly, the whole situation caught me off guard and everything happened so quick. I just didn't have the time to put the pieces together mentally before asking about the ovulation tests. Also, I found out later through one of my friends that Sasha did take the ovulation test and she is not pregnant. Bummer. I found out my boyfriend has been putting slugs in my food. I don't know how to forgive him. I, 23 female, have been with my boyfriend, 25 male, for 4 years now. I have never known him to do anything like this, but I noticed he started acting a little strange around a month ago. He started putting fruit on the floor in the garden, and I thought it was a bit strange. When I asked him, he said he was just feeding the mice family. So, I thought it was sweet of him, and helped him do so. I remember thinking how innocent he is, and how attracted that made me to him. He started being really nice to me around 2 weeks ago and making me food every day, baking me cakes and stuff, which he never usually cooks. So I was really happy he found a new hobby, and our relationship was becoming better than it already was. But after I would eat his meals, I would notice something. After eating, I would sometimes feel sick or dizzy. But I just put it down to lack of sleep/hormones. My boyfriend's best friend came into my work today. He found me in my office and opened the door, which he never usually does. He told me that he needed to speak to me as soon as possible when I was free. I was a bit weirded out because he seemed very serious. He's the type to always be playful and was the funniest guy that I knew, so I had a feeling something was up. After finishing up my work, I went to his office and knocked on his door. When he let me in, he told me that my partner has been collecting slugs from the garden, blending them up, and putting them in my food. He sent his friend pictures of bags of slugs that he had collected and the pictures of blended slugs. I feel so sick to my stomach. I can't believe I ate all of that. I don't understand why he did this. This is so out of character of him. I asked his friend why he was doing this to me. He said that he was doing it because I was apparently snooping through his messages, which I would never do, and he got so angry at me because I didn't trust him being faithful to our relationship. I feel absolutely disgusting. I love him to pieces. But I just don't understand his ways of thinking just now. Am I overreacting? I don't know what to do, and I feel so lost.
Entitled brother-in-law is trying to steal my deceased wife's inheritance after finding out I'm donating it to charity. Last year, my wife passed away at age 57 after battling cancer for a number of years. Prior to her passing, both of her parents passed away in 2017 and 2020. All of their possessions and money was left in a trust that was to be divided between my wife and her 2 siblings. They were all pretty much in agreement as to what everyone was getting from the inheritance, and what was sold and what was kept. This was great as we really needed the money to pay for my wife's care, and couldn't afford to have any fights with the family because of all the stress we were already dealing with. Sadly, my wife had passed not long after, and I received her inheritance. After the passing of my wife, her side of the family went radio silent. This was very out of character for them, but I just chalked it up to the mourning the loss of my wife in private. But that all stopped when my brother-in-law reached out to me, and basically said that the appropriately respectful amount of time had passed since my wife's death, and I needed to return what was left of her share of the inheritance to my brother and sister-in-law, since my wife and I had no children together. I responded very politely to my brother-in-law stating that my wife had left everything to me, so I was fully entitled to it, as well as that I intended to give most of what was left to the charities my wife supported prior to her passing, and I want to donate to the hospital that greatly cared for her and did everything for my wife before her death. He got very upset and said that I was stealing family money and that I wasn't entitled to it because there is no proof that my wife wanted me to have the money. He accused me of throwing it all away to charities. Now my sister-in-law has also rushed out saying that as she has 3 children and a big mortgage, she needs the money more than some charity does. I'm sure the rest of the family is gonna come out of the woodworks and demand the money until I eventually just give in. So now I feel like I might be being a jerk by giving away what is left of my wife's inheritance instead of giving it to her siblings. Am I in the wrong? I gave my dad his money back in front of his other kids and told him he was no longer welcome at my graduation. My graduation ceremony is being held next week. My dad had given me some money in advance to pay for the party. I live mostly with my mom, but they were supposed to be hosting the event together. My dad and I have a very rocky relationship, but that wasn't always the case. After my parents divorced when I was 5, they split custody of me, and he was able to stay a good dad. But when I turned 10, my dad met Jane. Jane had 3 kids, twins and a single kid. They got married when I was 12, but I would say even before that I felt like he prioritized her kids over me. He started canceling plans with me if his other kids wanted to do something. He would either do things with them or force me to go and say it was even better than our plans, when in reality it wasn't. Like going for a hike with me versus taking them to an indoor play area. Or seeing a movie with me versus the kiddie park. One more example is when I was given a ticket for a concert to see a band that my dad and I both love. He was supposed to buy a ticket to come with me for some quality father and son bonding time. But instead, he bailed out on me and spent money on his youngest stepkid who wanted their room painted instead. He told me it the same day and it hurt so much because I missed spending time with my dad. There are other times stuff like this happened. He didn't show up at the hospital to see me when I broke my arm because his stepkid was getting their tonsils out and wanted both him and his wife there. He told my mom over the phone to tell me he was proud of me for being so brave and understanding, even though I never said that BS. When I would bring this stuff up, he told me that it was natural to feel jealous of sharing his attention. That was all he would say. In 2019 he told my mom he would split the cost of a trip I wanted to go on with my friends because she didn't have the money all by herself. Mom had her half saved. We told my dad he needed to pay. He said bills were tight and it was the twins' birthdays and the money needed to go towards them. He told me we could do something as a family when the trip happened instead. I told him to forget it, and obviously he was making it clear who was more important in his life. I said that I was going to stay with my mom where I actually mattered. Mom borrowed money to cover the other half of the trip. My dad told me he regretted making me feel less important and we were working on things, and then the graduation money was given about a month ago. Then a week ago he called and told me how one of the stepkids was being bullied, how bad of a time they're having it, and with that money they could help cheer them up for their birthday. I was fuming. I hung up the phone. 2 days later I showed up at his doorstep, gave him the money and told him I didn't want to see him or his new family at my graduation, and that he had chosen who was more important, so he better stay out of my life. And I don't want to see his face ever again. His stepkids and 2 younger bio kids were there. I didn't stick around. He called and told me we needed to talk it out like adults, and that I had hurt the kids' feelings. His wife freaked out on me so I blocked her. Am I the jerk?